a great deal of thought had gone into his performance, which I really respected.
Damn it.
What was that?
You wait right here.
Be careful.
This was the backlot at Wilmington, North Carolina, Coralco Studios. And, it's a mixture of things. Like this scene, for example, where he's climbing the rooftop. This whole rooftop set was built on a soundstage. But the street that you just saw with Ernie Hudson running down the street was the back lot. But we changed it quite a lot. It was, it's been used for a few films. I mean, it was kind of interesting because during us shooting The Crow, we finished the back lot work fairly early on, and the Coen brothers shot Hudsucker Proxy on that same back lot. And I remember walking back onto the back lot towards the end of our filming, and suddenly the whole place had been transformed from sort of a ghetto in Detroit City to this wonderfully, beautifully pristine, clean, sort of every town kind of place. And that's the wonder of the filmmaking process. People can reuse the same thing and dress it in their own way. Both The Crow and Dark City are about a sort of a man lost in the city. That is definitely a recurring theme. And I don't know, maybe it's partly it's the way I feel about the city. I feel it's a place that you can sort of lose your way in. And I think a lot of people spend their lives living in a city trying to kind of, whether they realise it or not, trying to fit in or structure their lives around the structure that is imposed upon them. And it's a very artificial structure. It's not, I guess, the way human beings were designed to function. And so I guess that's partly my fascination. It's a very personal thing. I don't really know exactly why I'm so obsessed with the idea of cities at night, but I'm aware of my obsession now after having made a few films that deal in that sort of in that world. The Crow really invented the genre of the leather-clad hero, the trench-coated leather-clad hero, which has been used in many films since. Blade is one that springs to mind, and the whole the leather coat that Brandon wears in the movie it wasn't really a part of the comic book. It came out of us trying to come up with a contemporary version of like Batman's cape. If Batman really was able to walk down a street in Detroit, what would he actually really look like? He wouldn't be wearing a goofy thing, like helmet with pointy ears and a cape. I mean, we never wanted to sort of to go along that sort of path. So we really decided that the leather trench coat was kind of the urban equivalent, the modern equivalent, I suppose. And so his whole physicality, his whole costume came out of what he would find, what he would, if he had to wrap because if he'd been slashed by a knife, he'd have to wrap his arm in duct tape or to physically keep his costume together. If it had been shot out or whatever, he'd just wrap string or duct tape around him. And Brandon really got into the whole idea of creating his own costume. He got the elements, but then he wanted to be the one to wrap the duct tape around him. He didn't want some art director or costume designer to do that. He wanted to be it had to curl in a certain way because his character, he was the guy who would have done it in reality. So all that sort of stuff. I mean, that level of detail, the bullets in his hair, which you never see in the film. He's got little bullet casings in his hair, just tied to his hair. He wrapped that, he tied that to his hair, and just all that sort of stuff. I think is incredible detail, and that really comes from Brandon. I mean, to me, it was like the first time I saw the character. In a trench coat and with his makeup on, he looked cool. He looked great. I really liked it, but he was never happy with just leaving it at that level. He wanted to sort of push it further, basically. So yeah, getting the makeup looking right was actually really, really difficult. And I remember the first few times that Brandon and I looked at it, we were both very unhappy with it. It was really hard to get that to a point where it didn't feel self-conscious. And Brandon and I both became happy with it when it was distressed. We always used to say how the time it looked the best is at the end of a shooting day when he'd been rained on and he almost like wanted to sleep in the makeup and then arrive on the set the next day, and that's when it would look really great. Because when he first applied it, and he was really against, I mean, there was a makeup artist involved, of course, but he was really involved with like redoing it and futzing with it and just trying to make it look really raw, like his character would have, the way that his character would have applied it in a highly emotional state. So the rougher it was, the happier we were with it. We never called him the Crow. We never referred to him as the Crow. So we never even really thought of the makeup as being the Crow because he bases it on a drama mask. I wanted the movie to be black and white with blood and fire being the only key elements. So it's black and white and red are the three colours. And occasionally there'll be a pair of blue jeans in there that sort of slip through, but mostly we sort of stuck to that palette. And it was just really keeping the wardrobe department and the art department under that basic concept. There's no blues. I think the palette was no blues and greens in the film. We desaturated the colour just with art direction. We did it with art direction because, again, we couldn't afford... We were doing all this stuff before there was actually ways of doing it. Now there's like so many great techniques that you can do this stuff with, bleacher bypassing, etc. Well, it's not the first time anyone did this stuff. I mean, obviously, it's a great device in that if you can publish several rules to give to everyone who's involved with the film, you'll be amazed at how stylistic a film ends up looking. If you just say to the crew that there will be no green on this set, no one can use green. It forces people. It's the very simple rules to remember under the sort of the stress and the workload of making a film. So often those simple rules are the best ones to adopt. I was really concerned about the simplicity of the story, but it seemed like people got off on this sort of episodic set piece kind of quality that it has, and I think if each set piece works, people seem to go with that, The aspect of the film that was most important is Brandon's character and us sympathising with him, and it was really tough to finish the film in a way that I was confident it would have that aspect, because that to me was always the key. Is if you like this guy and you really were on side with him emotionally, you would want to see him track these guys down one at a time and do away with them. And I was never really confident that we had established that clearly enough, but it seems that Brandon brought so much to each scene, even while he was killing bad guys,